Good evening. We will call to order the April 8th meeting of the Park and Recreation Commission. Start with commissioner updates. Norm?
You know, I
Yeah, Peter.
let you probably share the update.
Kate?
It's not really an update. I've seen questions about if there is an Easter egg hunt, and if so, when.
Okay.
I looked online and I think I found something that was out of date, so I'm glad I didn't share it.
Okay, yeah. You want to cover that now?
Yeah, so there's the 250th anniversary celebrations at the same time, so we're gonna forgo the senior center also with that getting moved and everything. We weren't really able to put together the breakfast, and so we'll skip that.
Okay.
That's why it's not listed. So our next one is touch.
Anyone listening?
We
We can post.
can post it.
It's
Yeah,
not-
I'm gonna do that.
All the kids.
Back again next.
Sorry.
Sorry.
friends. Yeah, I know. It's just bad timing.
Yeah.
So a couple things, the CPC did approve or recommend the approval of additional dock funding. We're also at the planning board meeting. They were doing stormwater review for the tennis courts and baseball field, and that was approved with a few conditions. And then Peter and I did have a meeting with Jim Duggan and Ryan, Mark, and Karen. Talked over a variety of things. The more to come later, but one thing that did come up is that there are on occasions that the select board will get messages that are probably more intended for us, but there's no email for us. So we are planning to set up a group email forwarding address that will be on the website so that it will, if somebody wants to email the commission, they can send them a message and it will go to the five of us. But before we did that, we wanted to let you opt in and give us an email to use for that. So if you would like to be part of that, send me an email with the address you want to use. Send it to Jim. That's about it. Art installation at Play Park.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Right. Okay, so the cultural council last year they did this an art installation, community art installation called Littleton in Bloom. And so essentially what they're doing is they have kind of cutouts of flowers and butterflies and give them out to the community to paint. They flip them back and then they put them out as like a big art installation. So they did do it last year in the Common, and this year they want to do the Common as well as around the gazebo in Bay Park. So I told them, you know, they have to get permission from the Park Commission. So the information I sat down with one of the members right before the meeting and we talked about it. So yeah, the installation's just going to be around the gazebo. I wanted to make sure that I know that they have coordinated with Highway to make sure that maintenance is not an issue because I hate them to do the installation and have to be taken down. So I just asked them to do the same with the gazebo. And they will start installing them, see weather-wise, right? Around April 12th, and they'll stay for about a month or so. So, no, it's a really, I don't know if you remember it from last year, it's a really sweet, way for, you know, the community to kind of get involved and really to beautify it, so it's a really nice, event that they put on.
Are there any conflicting events, are in that month timeframe?
In April, yeah, so, yeah,
April 19th,
what's April 19th?
the 250th.
Oh, but I think that's okay, it's just gonna be on the outside of the gazebo, it's not, and that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't. Yeah, that even if there was something that really went on, it wouldn't be something, so.
And they collect them after a month's time. Okay.
I think they might be up for a little longer than a month, it might be closer to 6 weeks, because I know they were gonna, last I heard, they were gonna take them down around graduation. Before they were gonna put them up in the common, but they would be gone before the graduation.
Say,
Pictures went up,
she
so
told me a month.
it might be a little bit
Yeah.
longer, and it's gonna be more than just these 2 locations, I think. They wanted to do it like at the police station and the fire station,
Okay,
and a couple other places too, so. I don't know if they have enough installations to
Right.
go everywhere they were hoping,
yeah.
so.
When I talked to her this afternoon, she said that just the common and, you know, Bay Park, so we'll see, that'd be cool if they could do more, yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Need a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the use of Bay Park for the Littleton in Bloom Bay Park Cultural Council community art installation.
I'll second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Minutes.
I had a comment on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was not there unless my doppelganger was there, so,
Did I put you?
yeah, so.
Sorry.
I think where I voted yes, I did not vote.
Okay,
Any other?
Motion to approve. With the changes to be made.
Second, with the changes to be made.
Moved in second to approve the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Project updates.
and do you remember this one?
Sure. So, middle school, tennis courts and Wickham Field project, we went to the planning board and, the stormwater permit was approved, with some conditions. So the, engineer from, Green, who we did the peer review, was there, and, accepted, Activitas's comments on the plans. The one thing that was up for kind of debate was the filtration, how much filtration was required on the water coming off of the tennis courts and being filtered into the basin. So they are going to work that out on what that comment needs to be and how that's going to be addressed. As far as the other comments go, they were accepted by the peer reviewer when they had been responded to. There was just some general conversation that surrounded the abutment and the fence that was there. And I think as far as that was resolved, we did speak to the butters outside after the meeting, so that went overall pretty well. The bids, the whole bid process is completed. The packet is done and reviewed. It was posted at 2:00 today. Activitas and Holly were working with Ryan to get it put up on Conbuys. Activitas will be handling all of the bidders lists. The timeline that we're currently going to follow, so 2 p.m. today, everything was posted. We'll have a pre-bid conference meeting next Tuesday, April 15th. That'll be at 10 a.m. at the middle school. So basically, we'll have a site walk to begin at the proposed locations of the tennis courts and baseball to follow. No other formal accommodations are going to be made by the owner to show the sites. All additional visits must be coordinated through landscape architects. The civil engineer and owner must be accompanied by the owner, so that's us. So that is what we're looking for. We will have a public bid opening at Park and Rec on Thursday, April 24th at 2 p.m. So bids of the three lowest general bids may not be withdrawn for 45 days, Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays excluded, and are receipt of general bids. So the bids are being accepted at the Park and Rec office, and we will have our public bid opening Thursday, April 24th at 2 p.m. At which point, we will select a contractor, just to kind of update everybody on the timeline, what that looks like. So for the tennis courts, the contractor mobilization is Wednesday, June 17th. Mobilization for the baseball field is Wednesday, July 30th. So that gets us our full baseball season and Babe Ruth season in. Substantial completion on tennis courts is expected by Wednesday, August 23rd at 5. Substantial completion on the baseball field is Thursday, September 26th. And final completion for tennis is due by Wednesday, August 27th at 5 p.m. And final completion on baseball is Thursday, October 9th at 2025. So those are the dates that we had laid out.
Can we get an updated form from them?
What's that?
Because I just, the numbers, it sounds like everything got pushed back a little bit. This was from their original information. Could that be good?
Yeah, I think we're a week back, but yeah, we can adjust that based on this document, because this is the document that everything kind of is gonna go off.
Awesome.
Now. All right. Any questions about any of that?
So the tennis courts, what did you say that? You said substantial completion, and then was there another deadline after substantial
So
completion?
substantial is August 13th and final is August 27th,
Okay, so before Labor Day.
before the first day of school. Teachers go back on the 27th, school goes back on the 28th. Yeah, so just so everybody knows the difference, so substantial completion is like any kind of major work. So any type of things that require like equipment and stuff, and then final completion would be punch list work. So somebody out there fixing fence ties, or if they're still striping a court, something that doesn't require any, major equipment or any major mobilization of people.
And did the public use thing get resolved, related to public use during the school hours?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about that at the planning board meeting, and after the first meeting, we had gone back, and it really kind of seemed like most of that stemmed out of the original construction meeting that we had, and the request that was made by the principal. Obviously, as we talk through it, there's use of all the other facilities, so, the idea of this, being kind of used separately or being ruled out as opposed to the other ones. It was more of just, I think there was some confusion that the gym teacher had wanted to use it for PE class and just be guaranteed that if they were out there and they wanted to utilize it, that they were able to do so. So yes, we're all set. Now that might not be adjacent parking. People might need to walk from Alumni Field or something, but
Good exercise.
yes.
Is there any reseeding on the baseball field, or is it? So when you said substantial completion in October.
So yeah, we will be screening loam as needed from the
Yeah.
site. And there will be some sort of a top dressing and a seeding before we put that field to bed for the year. So
They're probably, so they shouldn't plan on using that field.
they won't, no one will have access to it. So I talked to Dave McManus today. He was in there and I confirmed that with him. So
Okay.
that field will not be available in the fall.
For the fall.
Will be available in the spring.
Yeah, we'll be all set to go. So, yep, everything will be ready. And that's basically why, that's best time to plant grass and everything's in the fall, so we'll keep everybody off of it and have it ready to go.
October seems awfully late, but
Well, that's the final completion as far as it goes, so, I mean, that's all up to when Ben and Steve and the highway department get everything done. As far as putting everything in.
But the tennis courts will be usable once they're final completion,
Sure, as they're
right?
done, right?
Okay.
All right, so 36 King Street. We're moving right along. Obviously, there's been a lot of work done in the basement. We still have yet to get the flooring and the ceiling tiles in down there, but this past Monday, it was the public schools, Neshoba Security, Vertex representative, and myself met for final keying of the building. So we went through the whole keymaster system, key tree, whatever they call it. So we're all set with that. Gesundheit, I think. All of the electric and network cabling is fully installed. I know, I think it was last week, they were going through and just kind of like checking and testing everything and making sure everything's working the way it should be. The painting has been completed. As I said earlier, obviously the flooring and ceiling tiles still need to be installed in the basement. So yeah, it's moving right along. It's looking really good. You know, the day that I was in there, the 8th, they had just put in the floor leveler, so it was drying. And once they got that all completed, they will bring folks in to finish out the flooring down there.
any updates on occupancy? Dave?
No, I will ask at our meeting tomorrow, because I think that's something we still were under the impression that it's still around June 23rd. But there might be some give on that. So,
Alicia, have you been going to the PMBC meetings?
I've been to a few of them. There is one tomorrow night. Yeah.
Okay.
You wanna go to that? Okay, so I'll make sure I get you all the information.
I think I got it.
Did you? Okay. Yeah, I mean, at this point, they're just kind of going through and, you know, as the invoices are coming through, double checking everything. There's not any major change requests or, you know, there's, yeah, not a whole lot going on. It's pretty steady. Yeah. All right. Okay, so beach operation stuff. So I'll let you take this over. You know, I'll just.
Yeah, so, like we discussed last month, really, with the exception of if everybody wanted to come up with the Clean Lakes fee and kind of pilot it this year, you know, whatever you guys might want to add to the fee for that. You know, we discussed pretty clearly last month that, even though we've increased rates for the past 3 years, we've been kind of level as far as the money's coming in. Because the increase in fees, we've seen a decrease in the number of people buying each fee structure. So for the most part, the numbers are really flat. I think it was, do we have that number up from last time? I think it was like 36,000. But they're within a couple $100 of each other. So raising the fees is not, that's fine. Raising the fees is not something that is having a significant impact on where we're at. As far as other similar beaches in the area, you know, we're still in line with a lot of the fees for usage and rentals of boats. As far as half an hour uses, and day passes are, you know, within a couple dollars plus or minus of our other user groups. Obviously, the only exception is Acton, which charges almost triple what we charge. It's $300 whatever dollars. It's the early bird special, and then it goes up from there. So in looking at that, the suggestion would be kind of right now to figure out what our other increases and things that we can do at the beach are that do not reflect increasing the user fees as they're set right now. In our conversation last month, we did get into the fact that like, do we want to be proactive and see, you know, what the appetite is and add $5 this year and call it, you know, a Clean Lakes fee or whatever we want to call it, just to see, if we wanted to be proactive, in doing so. The other thing that we had discussed was, is there a way forward with setting up like a donation towards the Clean Lake, that we can just have, which we bubbled up to the town administrator's office to see like, what is the legality of that? How do we have to go forward? Is there anything that we have to fill out in order to make that possible? So, I mean, really, that's where we're at as far as budgeting and our user fees for the beach. Our programmings have already been set for the year, so that's not really something we can look at until next year. And there wasn't really any other further discussion to be had on that. Shoulder season wise, if we have the staff, we can look to possibly run a couple weekends and see if we can get some more boat rentals done. As I stated last month, you know, in order for that to happen in September, we need to find like a senior citizen or somebody who's, you know, willing to be out there. Then we also have to take into consideration of, you know, do we need one person? Do we need two people? Is it how we set it up? For one person to be able to do it during the day, because obviously we don't want somebody lifting boats hurting themselves. Most of those vessels take two people if they're up on the racks. So all things that really looking at for probably next year to make changes. If you guys wanted to, and a lot of that would just surround is if we're trying to raise money for the lake care.
Proactively.
What was the response back on the legal aspect of doing donations to the lake?
So I had a conversation with Jim, in the past, there's a gift accept form, that we have to do, so if somebody gives us a donation, we go through that process. And in the past, it would go to select board, but now it goes to town administrator for, him to sign. I honestly, I don't think that we've ever done the form to solicit for donations. So I know that there is a document, but I know there's been a lot of policy change, so I wanted to make sure that we're following the procedures correctly. So he said that he would get back to me and let me know what that is. If you are okay with it, once he gives me what the steps are, I can just go forward and make that happen, or I can wait and bring it back to you next, partnership. Up to you.
So would that be something on the website itself? That people
So we
would
can
see,
do that.
or-
Yeah, we can do that. We're able to, put in called a program for donation so that, if people wanted to, you know, let's say they sign up for Campty and they wanted to donate to it. They could bring that up, put a donation in. I think we even have the ability to kind of like tack it on and say like, hey, thank you for setting up for Camp T. Would you also like to, you know? I mean, we don't like to do that and bother people, so we don't, but we could, there's a possibility to do that within our software. And you know, I think we were thinking more of, you know, being able to collect that down at the beach during the season.
Okay.
Cause that's where you can kind of see the direct, you know. But it's also, you know, Thursdays or special events, that's something we could, you know, advertise that too and see.
Yeah, Clean Lakes should have roofs.
Yeah.
Well, like we talked about last month too, it's everybody who's buying passes and everything else, like this is one step. The bulk use of, you know, the bulk use on a lot of days in the summer is like, as soon as we close the doors, everybody who's not buying passes, who's showing up. And that's, you know, that has just as much, if not more of an impact than the, you know, people who are trickling in throughout the day. You know, it's not, we're creating fees and we're creating a structure to do everything that we need to do with what we have. The problem is, and we've had this problem for years, it's like, I walk here, I'm not paying to use the beach, I do this, or, you know, we don't want people to be here after, we don't want, you know, the supervision after 6 o'clock, and then that's when we're having the issues that we're having and the mass crowds coming and things like that, because that's just, so that the enforcement of afterwards and all of the use that's being not taken into consideration is really where we have our biggest advantage. And how we do that, I don't know. Whether that's going back to the police chief and asking like, can you guys do more parking enforcement or whatever that looks like, but that's the biggest piece that we've not collected in the past couple of years. Since we've implemented all of this 7 years ago. There's plenty of people who are doing the pass and doing that I think if you ask them for a nominal fee that it would probably be taken in without any hesitation whatsoever. But like I said, that's still the same people who are already contributing to the upkeep of the park.
Does parking ticket revenue go back to the town general fund?
Correct.
It's too bad it
We've asked that.
can't go to the Clean Lakes.
So this on here is just if we were to add the $5 to what we can edit fee wise coming into this summer. This is the amount that, potentially, and all this is based off of our actual numbers from last summer. So fiscal year 24. So just to kind of give you an idea that, if we were to add it to the memberships, the additional parking sticker, and some families, if they're over 5, can do like an additional member. And there's quite a few families that did use that. So, if we added $5 to all of those items, then, you're looking at something closer to the $3,730 that we potentially could bring in. I do not advise adding that on to seniors. I think they've got a hard enough time financially as it is, so I really would not suggest that. But I wanted to give you a full picture here. So if we took the seniors out of it, then you'd be looking more towards. Speaking of seniors.
Yeah.
So if we took the seniors out, then you're looking for it, 2,795. And again, that's like if we get the same amount of people.
Right, and I know you guys had voted to not entertain anything this year, but this was just a suggestion I made at the end of last meeting so that we could be a little more proactive and just see what the appetite was this year before we possibly had to put something into play next year. I would be remiss without saying also that, we are still chasing a deficit at times at the beach, a lot of the time. So we have to look at both of those things when we think about these. We do need to cover the operational costs of Long Lake. But we also have been asked to look at covering the maintenance costs in some way.
Memorized it.
Good. Well, impressed. Questions, comments?
Yeah. Yeah, I am tempted to try and do something for CLC in this. I think I would roughly target $1 a person, $5 of family membership makes sense, and then $2 on a couple, $1 individual sort of just as a, and it makes it bad complicated, but
All right, how about, I like the idea, we get this on our tax forms, right? Add that extra, you just said.
yeah.
I mean, can see how it goes the first year.
Well, that was the thought, Peter, to see what people had an appetite for.
I mean, and then if it doesn't work out, then we go back to something else the following year.
And this was, when we had the conversation with them, Clean Lakes Committee, we had met, like, we operate, 2 seasons before we're actually, in the season. So we've had our, fees out and programs available for registration for summer since January 1st. So that's not something, we can't go back and say, oh, hey, and we're gonna add on X. So, when we had the conversation with them, we said that we would be able to start adding in things potentially fall 25. That was, because then we're past the summer stuff. So this is, what we're doing here is just trying to be proactive. You don't necessarily have to do this. This is just something, again, was a suggestion that was made for us.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the idea of if we can add it to the checkout process. Of a,
For like hours.
This money,
on-
money goes directly to CLC for lake cleanup.
right,
I-
so you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, program, whatever, check here for,
Yeah,
to donate $1 to CLC.
I mean, that should be relatively easy, I think, to set up. So, we can look at that from my rec.
So let me. Do we have to focus solely on things related to the beach for this? So could you put that on every transaction, every registration, right? Can you make that box a default for every registration?
Yes, we could do that, I believe. I'd have to look into a little bit more. I do believe that that is the case.
For Camp T too.
I mean, a lot of Camp T has already been paid for this year, honestly. Yeah.
That ship has sailed.
The shape is probably
So-
not.
Yeah.
I'm even thinking, like, it seems like we're trying to tie the funding of this strictly to what happens at the beach.
At the moment, yes, because
That's what way we talk about it,
we
but
have the ability to change those fees at this point.
if you spread that, we think about this as an ongoing thing. You spread that across every registration. And.
But
I'm
there's a
not
lot
there,
of-
So I don't.
There's also a lot of things that we could spread across
Right.
things to actually, make sure that,
You think that your heating bill that comes, your electric,
Yeah.
right, that the surcharge, there's surcharge detailed out for everything. I don't, if we're trying to keep it so that the funding lines are clearer, then that doesn't work, but.
Yeah.
We're trying to raise $10,000. Across every registration as opposed to just the beach ones, but to try to keep it cleaner for. This is what it's going towards, like.
I would say, as long as we get approval to, ask for donations, then I would be fine putting that in for my rec. I do know, like, with the fees, we talked about that, it's not fair for, somebody's doing an after-school program that's not at the beach, like, what they.
Yeah, we look at
For that fee.
people make it all cranky.
yeah, because that just goes back to the same argument that everybody has, is like, I'm not using the beach, so it's not gonna be on my taxes.
Skiing.
Right,
Same reason I don't have a kid in school,
Exactly.
but we all pay.
Right.
So
So,
how do you?
Yeah.
Still paying?
I think just to kind of circle this back in, like, you guys did vote last month that we weren't going to really entertain anything for this year as far as doing
Well,
it. And then,
I think our intent there was the request for funding was for fiscal year 26.
correct.
The bulk of this activity is going to be in fiscal year 25. And the bulk of the fiscal year 26 programs that will start selling in January.
Correct.
So that was where we were going to
Yeah.
focus, but this was still a question.
Let's do a test voluntary thing.
I think that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
$5.
So you don't, so this is we're just gonna not do that.
I-
And
I think
no,
we should.
well, I think voluntary prompted at the checkout of
my rec, okay,
of my record. Ideally, I would say ideally beach related things, but
For now,
depending on how.
Yeah.
How much you can do in MyRec.
So go back to, in saying that it was next year, right? And that's what was talked about last month. The whole reasoning behind, do we do something this year, is to start building that up so we don't have such a significant increase next year on all the user groups if we had some money in the chest already, because right now we can put a volunteer thing out there, and if everybody says no, that's still $0 that we're going into it for next year.
Cross that bridge in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we can, make a reasonable commitment to CLC with a fairly small charge on a fairly large user group related to like that. In the programs for next summer registration.
Could we also get something in the newsletter about the importance of this? I don't know what the readership is of our newsletter,
I was reading that today.
but that
you.
could be helpful too, so people realize this is an issue. And they could be directed possibly within the newsletter how to make donations directly to Clean Lakes Fund.
I mean, I go back to the fact too, it's really. This is something that's helpful. This is something that we can work for, and it's good to say, yes, this directly affects that, but the biggest impact that we're gonna have to be is that getting everybody to finally buy in and say, okay, if I'm utilizing the beach, I'm gonna get a pass or something. That's how we make the biggest impact.
But there
Yeah.
might also be people who do not buy beach passes that might say, oh, for the value of the town, there could be people out there that say, oh, I don't use that lake, but in the interest of the value of the town, I am willing to make a nominal donation.
Right,
And
but
if they
we're
don't
talking,
know about it, they might not. I know there's two different things.
I'm just saying, right now, we're tagging the donation to you buy a beach pass, and would you like to add extra?
Right. But beyond that, scoping beyond that, if there's some way we could get out to the community that this is an issue.
So,
It's a
yeah,
town-wide thing. It's not just a beach thing. I mean, I see it's easy to tie to the beach because those are the people using it.
No, that's what I'm saying, like, right now, the way that we're talking about structuring it, is that's the only people who are gonna see that checkbox at the end. We're not talking about adding something else in right now.
but if we do, say, do a little article in, we have a newsletter that we put out weekly, and then the town also has one that goes out monthly. That is something, and we could potentially, I could have, especially with we could add a link that would go directly to the donation page. And they could donate, so we can.
I think it's
make that happen.
worthwhile. I mean,
See, yeah,
put it in
yeah.
and then, we're probably gonna have to add fees. I don't doubt that.
I will preface all of this that I do have to get approval first before.
Right.
Sorry, before I can move forward into that. So, just to be clear, but.
But I think that we will not, what I'm hearing is we're not going to include or add a Clean Lakes fee to the fee structure.
I make a suggestion.
Absolutely.
I like your ideas of $1 per resident. I think that's a good thing. Right? It's low money that you would be collecting, but then you can fairly make the promise to Clean Lakes that there is some money coming in. I also think the idea of having the checkbox says, would you like to donate to the fund, and don't tell them $5, make it $1, $5, $50, $100.
Well, we
right?
can leave it open and they can choose what they want.
Yeah.
Because if you tell people $5, that's what you'll get.
Right.
But you should also then have a registration that is just Clean Lakes, right? So
Well,
you
we
can
would have to do
something
it that
that's
way, yeah.
basically a 0, and then they can pass all the way through just to make the donation. But if you put in the fee, which would be much less money than you're talking about here, right? Collecting, you'll you can make the commitment that there will be something. And have a fairly strong idea of what the minimum would be, right?
If we're gonna include a fee.
Yeah, so $2 on a couple, 5 on a family, whatever,
Right.
something like that, and it's not as nearly as much as you're collecting here, but it is something you know, maybe it's $1,000 or something you're bringing in effectively. You know, count the number of registrations you have.
Well, I think that's what this was, Mark, was the
That's
2 and the 5. That
But
was
this
what I-
is all
this-
based
This
off
was
of
the
just-
2 and the 5 per structure.
Five, just
This was
five.
all a
I'm reading
five.
five.
Oh, I thought we said 2, okay.
Nope.
Sorry.
It's all five, and then Alicia said the difference in the first, the top number includes seniors, the lower number does not.
Correct,
include
correct.
seniors.
Yeah.
And then it's also not, I mean, you can still put the fee on the senior that's going up $2 for a couple. Right, it's not $5, it's not a 25% increase in the fee, it's a much lower number.
The dollar per person is easier to swallow.
Yeah.
Ideally, we feel like, yeah, just jack up the rates. It's not reality.
So I mean, I guess that goes back to, do we want to trial a voluntary donation, or do we want to have a fee?
Or both.
Or, I mean, yeah, you can, right, we can always have, I guess.
I was gonna say, if we
We
do,
have this is maybe a question for somebody in town. I mean, obviously, we have the structure and the ability to process payments, but if there's going to be fundraising for Clean Lakes, should that not just go through Clean Lakes and we can provide a link to it? Like, is it really?
Well, that's kind of the issue, is like where the revolving fund will be established, right? And so for the revolving to be able to maintain being, so to speak, we have to put regular amounts of money into it. So
Yeah, that's the way.
it's
That's the way I plan for next year.
But we can, once, hopefully it will pass town meeting, right? If it does pass town meeting, then we will have that account number that we can add that into. As far as departmental wise, like sharing account numbers, we don't really do that. That's like our priority, we would take money in through our credit card system, let's just use that as an example. So when I do my turnover sheet, everything is put into specific account lines. And all of the account lines that we have on there are, I don't want to use the word owned, but they are under Parks and Recreation. We're not like, if we have to do something that, I don't know, say HR needed to pay because of the, staff.
Benefits.
No, what's the staff, committee? Use FEC.
Oh, the staff engagement committee.
Engagement committee. So let's just say, Tim had to buy something and that goes back. We'd have to work with Michelle to get that through their accounts.
I think
So-
we're getting a little in the weeds.
We are, I'm sorry,
You're very-
I know, I'm just trying to be clear that it's not as simple as just we collect the
No,
money.
well, that's what I'm,
give
and
it
that's
to
why
them.
I'm wondering is that, I mean, I understand why we're collecting money on our attached programs. I am questioning whether it makes sense for us to be setting up a donation account.
I don't think you're setting up a donation account. Right, I think the account doesn't belong to Park and Rec.
No,
You're
so,
just putting money, depositing money into it,
Yeah.
in someone else's account.
Okay,
You're a funnel.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we went there. Okay, so,
And that's something we can add on after we discuss with the sheriff. We're not gonna attach it to the fee, then we can table that and come back to it. Because that's a button we can add at any point.
all right, so appetite for adding $1 a person to the pages as opposed to trying to volunteer.
Um,
I'm fine with $1.
and then a little bit more for a family.
So, yeah, I mean, it would be, $2.
Ultimately, it'd be $5 per family, because the
$5.
most you can have in a family pass is $5.
And then I think we should have something that's on the registration saying that a portion of the beach pass goes to
Yeah.
Clean Lakes, just so they know, okay, there's been a slight problem.
Yeah,
It'll-
whether that's a
$1 per person per,
line item or whatever it is.
yes.
You can break it out as a surcharge or.
Okay, so $5 per family, $2 per couple, and one per individual, and seniors. I still,
Mark, you said yes? What do you think the beat on that is?
I would not suggest it, that's me.
I mean, what are numbers for seniors?
125.
About,
200 between residents and non-residents.
I mean, you would go from 25 to 26.
I mean, it's not our.
It's a pretty big
For a
group.
couple.
50, I was looking.
It is pretty big.
Oh.
Use it for-
Senior individual is 15, so they would go to $16.
Do $1, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be senior Sunday.
We give the, give couples a break, let's do $1 and vote.
The senior couple should raise it $1, is that what you're saying? That seems fair. It's 50 cents.
And then we'll revisit this next fall, right? For other programs, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. Whenever we get into summer 26 programming.
Yeah.
Then we'll figure out how to.
Yeah, I think the other thing we spoke about was once we actually get a plan put together and know what actual numbers cost and what we're actually trying to raise.
Yeah.
Then we can, figure out what that number really is, because just to throw an arbitrary like, hey, $15,000 a year at it when we don't know what we're paying for, doesn't make sense.
And that was when we had them here and we asked that was, the 10,000 is kind of arbitrary, they didn't have.
Yeah, it was just a random.
Right, a lot of some specific projects that they.
But we've certainly seen that both the any mechanical and herbicide treatments are
Are pretty crazy.
not inexpensive, so it's there's a place to spend the money.
Yeah.
To figure out how to do it right. All right, otherwise, are we happy with the?
Go back to the other slide, Alicia.
What's up?
I was just asking you to go back to the other slide.
Okay.
Um, We also want to, probably include the day rates also,
The what?
the day rates.
You want to add $1 per person to the day rates?
Don't love that, but I want to do something.
I mean, that's kind of a tough one because like the market. We're like right there with everybody else with the market.
I mean, the other thing about our daily passes is once you reach a certain number, you trade it in for an annual pass, so.
Right.
You just get there quicker.
What was our, count of? What's somewhere day rate?
This one, or would you want?
No, the,
People.
the day rates, like how many day passes in the parking projects?
I think we had that
Uh,
last month. But
I had it last month, I'm so sorry. You do have that?
trying to pull it up. Can't open up my phone, it's too big.
Was it in the?
It's. I have the PowerPoint from last month,
Yeah,
but it's just too big to open on my phone.
The minutes I sent everyone is in that too. Then we'll give you the.
Yeah, hang on, I'm almost there.
Maybe?
I'm almost there, so. Daily fees.
Parking day passes were 17,000.
Overall.
Probably.
I need to go back and look and see how much of that was actually parking and how much of those were the wristbands too.
But still, if you average it, even if you average it. Take them all as residents, that's still. 800. 800-ish, somewhere between 800 and 1700. No, 800.
Still trying to get that from Microsoft Outlook
Uh,
verifier.
yeah, the traffic. It doesn't seem like you could. Surcharge the members and then not surcharge the day rates, but. It's also much bigger.
They're also paying with the higher premium to come for the day.
Right.
A lot.
It's the day where you work to pay for your car and you buy a wristband.
So if you drive in, you pay, let's just say hypothetically, you were coming in as a resident and you drive your car there. So you pay 15 and you as a driver, you get your wristband included in that. And then everybody else in your car, if you're a resident, everybody else in your car will give you the resident rate because you're bringing guests essentially for that day. If you're a non-resident, then everybody in the car pays the non-resident rate.
So car for is 27.
Car of 4 people?
Yeah.
No, is $20 for the driver,
I'm sorry.
For non-resident.
so 35.
So-
If it's a resident, then
Non-resident.
it's 15, a non-resident would be 35, resident is 15, and then 12, 27.
Yeah, 27. Good math.
Occasionally, so.
The other thing those numbers work very well with is $20 bills.
I was gonna say, this-
That's
That's what-
the other thing, I mean,
Yeah.
not to put it to, like, when people are coming, typically they have cash in $20 increments, and then when you start talking about dollars, it kind of throws things off.
Yes, no, that is exactly why I
high
don't
school
want.
kids to make change.
Well, it's not the high school kids making change, it's like, it's really like, sometimes people like literally show up and like, that's when it becomes an issue, is when it's like, oh, well, all right, fine, we're gonna charge you the extra dollar, like.
Right.
And I will say, like, the other thing that has become an increasing issue is, especially when dealing with the day parking rates, is the language barrier we've been dealing with. And when we start talking about like trying to add certain things up, like that takes up a considerable amount of time recently. We've put up different signage, we have some multi-language things that we're now handing people, but it does, it has been something that's been something that our younger staff has been dealing with, so this
Yeah.
simplifies it a little bit.
Yeah.
The round numbers, that is.
Great.
Yeah.
But they're not resident, the residence isn't a round number, so.
Yeah.
I meant, Mark, when it comes to like, if you have a 10 or a 5, things like that, it's just, it does make it easier for the just counting and processing change.
Um, all right. Leave it as is, thoughts on other ways to do it? I don't have good feelings about either version, so.
What's the potential revenue of going up by $1? I mean, what are we talking about here?
For the day rate, you mean?
Yeah.
What was your quick math, $800 and something dollars?
800 to 1,500, somewhere in there. Not nothing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, it's a fair number of visitors.
Like I said last year, we're also the top when it comes to day visitors and what we're charging.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, for non-residents, $35 you can go to.
Outside of state beaches,
Go to
when
the
it comes,
beach.
yes. So, because we have pushed that one to the limit over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So are we thinking $1 per individual,
In senior.
but senior couple would be $1 total. And not changing the daily rate.
Yeah, so what I have right now is that it would be 5 per family, that would be added on, 2 per couple. 1 for an individual and senior rates.
The world.
Any more discussion?
Motion as discussed. Can you read that again, please?
So Norm,
So we're looking for a motion to increase the 2025 family beach rate to $90 with an increase of $1 per person on the membership. We're looking to increase the individual rate by $1, the couple rate by $1 per person, the senior couple rate by $1 per person, by $1 for couple, the senior individual by $0, and no increase to the Long Lake daily parking and visits and per person rate. Yes.
that's,
Oh, so we're not, I thought we were doing $1 for an individual senior, but
and so it's an individual senior and a senior
Tim
couple.
said 0. so
yeah,
you
it
did-
says 0, so
That's
just to
yeah.
clarify.
You guys said 0 for the single senior, right?
No,
No,
$1.
Just
One.
1 for the seniors across the board.
And
So.
then-
an
Okay, so
individ-
whether you're a senior couple or a senior, just
It's
one,
$1.
so we do want to attach it to, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
$1 per person in the family membership, $1 per individual, $1 per each person in the couple, and then $1 for the senior couple and the senior individual. And no changes to the Long Lake daily rates.
And in that, I think you need to be clear on the family. It's, someone doesn't come and say, I've got like 2 people in my family, so it's, or 3 people, so it's 93. Like it's
It's
95.
it's just, it's just.
So we're just gonna.
$5
That
per
way, it's just gonna be $5 per
Yes.
family rate.
So there's no,
The Nichols.
I've got 3 kids, my family is at 95. Yeah, that will get caught.
Ooh, our people as well.
Think we have a motion
I'll second it.
in a second. All in favor of adopting the 2025 Long Lake Beach fees?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll add something that says a portion of the
Yes,
rate
yeah.
goes to. Thanks.
absolutely. Okay, there's just kind of an update on full-time hiring. I know we have put on there to post, just after, more of a conversation, I think we decided that holding off the post until July makes more sense because we're just too close to the summer program starting. So, you know, I guess the type of individual that we'd be looking for would be somebody that would commit to their programs, right? So if we're, you know, asking them to leave like a month before programs start, it's not an ideal time to ask people to do that. So we're looking at holding off posting until July. And then that way, going through the process, we can bring somebody in towards the end of August. Make sure that they're, you know, we have the fall to be able to train them and get things set up so that, you know, they're ready for success as we go from winter into summer. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are with that.
And is this the recreation supervisor or the program?
I don't know how much. We have a couple of different ideas that we're thinking about doing. We kind of need to have a few conversations first before we make that decision. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the reality of it. Yeah.
I think that's a fair response. Yeah, I think we need to just kind of figure out what it is that the goal is moving forward.
And do any, so we have two programs for it?
Yes, we have Kelsey and we have Rachel, and Mel is our office coordinator. And then myself.
Be a busy summer.
Sorry to busy.
Yeah, we're already, we're already there.
Not the summer.
It's actually funny that you say that, you know, because usually like mid-July, you're like.
Once we start summer, it's easy. Groundhog Day until Labor Day.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Special events, again. you
Yep, so
wanna-
we talked a little bit about the EggCon already. There's a couple things going on. We used to do the bunny breakfast. The library's actually also doing a bunny thing that day, so
Well, they are.
2 bunnies in Littleton at the same time is a little odd.
Yeah,
So if people want their bunny fix, they
Yes.
go to the library. But if it's the hunting that they're out.
Yes, so, but yeah, as far as the egg hunt goes, that was falling at the same time as the other thing that was proposed to us at the last meeting. So that was the kind of the first time that the aha moment was these things are happening at the same time, so.
250, yes.
Touch truck, moving ahead with that, we have registrations open, been working with the Lipoli company. There is going to be some modifications made to how we utilize the property this year, but been working very closely with a couple of the individuals over there and starting to work with the marketing team. They wanted to see what type of kind of advertisement slash use of their name, how we put that on there, different things to recognize the use of the property. So I'm working with the marketing team over there for that. Should be about the same size of event. Parking is going to be really tight because we have 1 out of the 3 parking lots that we generally utilize. The other piece that we kind of were asked is we have a pretty cool opportunity coming along. There is an individual who reached out. It is a children's entrepreneur market. So it's kind of like a farmer's market, but just for kids. It's something that's been moving across the country. California, Utah kind of originated in, and it's been working its way to the East Coast. It's something that it's a good opportunity to look for big events to kind of tag on to this, so that the kids are if successful individuals work with them to like really work on what they're selling and money management, things like that. So it's pretty awesome. They reached out to us and they said, hey, this is the exact kind of event we look for. So we're working with them, and it's going to be something that we're going to host kind of over on the grass area. Typically they see about 100 to 50 to 100 kids who participate. So it should be pretty exciting. But that'll be posted together. Now that we've finalized everything with Nicole, we'll basically co-host the event. Their touch truck will be on their event. Their event will be on touch truck, and we'll kind of work together to do that. Hopefully we got nice weather, and yeah, we got some pretty cool stuff. So Nicole actually was able to work with somebody that she has in her town who's got some cool vehicles. So we got like a DeLorean coming from that group and some other stuff. So we got some new fun stuff, but we are, you know,
Train coming back?
the train is coming back, and we're still on pace to be one of the largest touch trucks in Massachusetts. So
Nice.
it'll be a good day.
What's the anticipated?
So last year we saw just under 5,000-ish was the kind of the car count as far as what we had through there. It was packed to the gills for all 4 hours. For the past 3 years, we've had the sensory event that goes on from 9 to 10, where we don't have the lights and the sirens. Yeah, it's been growing and growing and growing. And, you know, we used to fit in the back of town hall, and then we went to highway, and it was a great spot to have it, but the parking was awful. And then we done it up at 550 King Street for the past 2 years. This will be our 3rd year, and it's just been incredible. So
What's the date?
May 10th, Saturday, May 10th. So if you know of anybody with cool vehicles or anything that people want to show off or donate, you know, you can let kids climb and do things. We also have vendors who just allow kids to walk around the cars. You know, some of the older farm equipment and some of the cars that are a little more expensive, we do, you know, not have people climbing through, but we generally get really good response from like Middlesex County Sheriff's Department, a lot of the surrounding police departments, our police and fire, state troopers, and all sorts of stuff. So it's yep. Yeah, LELWD, the Light and Water Department, the Highway Department. So it's really cool. If you've never been, it's quite a spectacle.
Yeah, the state trooper horses again too.
Yep.
All right.
Tim, I can try to get Smokey again.
Yeah, Smokey didn't pan out for us last year.
I know.
There was a bunch of actual firefighting weekends that were going on last year. Right up until the end, and then that was all their training weekends.
If you want, I can reach out to him, see what's.
I think you
see
should
what-
personally be Smokey for that.
No. Need to take a class for
Okay. That's like a good Wednesday activity at DCRP.
that.
No talking when you're smoking.
I've got experience.
That's gotta be.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so update. All right, so we've got our year to date. So you out?
I'm gonna see a friend of Con's mom.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, we're doing,
Thank you guys.
we've gotten to that place, again, January, we start growing the revenue that we're bringing in, especially this time of year, our amount of expenses kind of go down too, so, as well as our staffing. So, yeah, we're doing really good right now. We've been through one cycle of the grant, so we haven't gotten all of that money in yet. We still have 2 more cycles to go with that. But otherwise, yeah, we're pretty healthy, staying on track. Questions come?
So this, yeah. 5, 6, so revolving fund, here's the, so the balance is,
For this fiscal year, yeah, 275, 280, is what we have right now based off of, that's our net for this fiscal year.
Covered all the expenses from last summer. Start building up the reserve there.
You got it, yeah. So, you know, the revenue that we have in there is a fair amount of that. I think when I did the calculations before was somewhere around like 600,000. Is already earmarked for the next fiscal year. Yeah. Which starts on July 1. I guess you went through CPC. But yes, we did get approved the 15,000 for the additional funding that we need to purchase the blocks to create the fishing dock, swim zone dock, and replace the deep dock. So they approved that, has to go to town meeting for us to be able to get that funding. And once we do that, then we can work on purchasing those items. So, yeah.
Can we do? I guess we can't actually put out a bid until we have money for it.
Yeah, well, we shouldn't, yeah, it doesn't, it's not fiscally responsible. We don't, because I mean, for whatever reason, you know, you get a town meeting and they could say no,
Yeah.
and then that's money that, yeah, we can't promise that, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And the CPC money was from reserve funds, so it will be available right after.
Okay, awesome, okay.
It's not.
And then we can put that to, so once we have, so once the vote has been taken, if it's passed, then yes, right after that, then we would be able to go off again. Yeah, so we can prep everything and go in that direction.
But it's not coming from Jack.
Well, it's funny you say that.
Yeah.
It depends on the company,
Yeah.
but it's possible.
That has to go in the knock now, right?
So we may not get as many blocks as we would like to get.
All right,
It'll be what it is.
yeah,
It'll be what it is.
or it may change by then anyway, so. Okay, all right.
Public input,
Public comment?
sir?
Can I ask you, can you go back to the revolving fund number?
Yeah.
So you have $275,000. Call it
That's-
profit year to
that's-
date.
To date, yeah.
And you said you had about the same from last year left?
No,
So
so we would have
600,000.
already used those
I
funds.
thought you said there was $600,000 in the account.
No, that was target, that's
No,
expected expenses for next year.
expected, yeah.
Where did we end last fiscal year?
I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah. Yeah, I can help.
Yeah, that was my next question is what the delta is from what you're expected of that 275 to spend before the end of the fiscal year.
So
and
our.
how that compares to previous fiscal year.
Yeah, our goal is to always be able to essentially go towards a zero balance budget. So, you know, our intent in the way that we build out our program, budgets, we're not trying to make, we would like to make a little bit of profit, right? Obviously, but that's not the goal, is to make a tremendous amount. So, you know, with our program coordinators, they give us reports every time we finish a program. And they're typically, I think, what was it? February vacation program, we probably made like $2,000. So, yeah, I mean, there's tons of kids. We had, you know, over 50 kids that were there every day, but we're trying to keep those costs for the programs to a reasonable amount.
But this is we're building revenue now because expenses are low.
Correct.
For the seasonal staff comes on.
Yep.
So the chart that would actually be interesting is, if you took month by month and compared, you know, what the balance of the revolving fund is on January of 24 versus January of 25 versus January of 23, and every month You could look
Yeah.
at that. Your, because your income is not flat or not linear,
Right,
right? And nor are your expenses, but you could see that we're tracking as we are for every other year.
yeah. So I did play around with that a little bit on this chart, and it is absolutely horrific to look at. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like the best way that I could be able to show that.
You can just show the balance.
That's what I'm asking, not.
Yeah, but so the issue with the balance is that it depends on give me a snapshot. Daytime, you wanna look and I can tell you what that is, right? It's ever evolving and changing. That's one of the challenges of being able to do financing for a revolving fund.
Right, but what I'm asking is not, I don't really care what the balance is on January 1st, 25. I care what the balance is on January 1st, 25 compared to what it was on January 1st of 24.
Yeah.
Assuming that your expenses are all going to hit at roughly the same time.
I mean, if you want, I could pull that together for
Or-
next month.
yeah.
It's fine. Yeah.
Or we'll look at.
Last 2 years.
Sit down and talk about it, yeah. There was
However
a,
you want to present it, I'm happy to do it.
there was one, I have to go back and look through some of the old. 'Cause I think you did present something.
So when I did the budget hearing, I presented, and then I also did, because the select board wanted to see the breakouts of all of the account lines, so I also did each of the program
No,
account lines.
I'm thinking back a couple of years, we used to do the year-to-year comparison. I don't know if it was balances or revenue, but.
Oh. Okay, I mean, I think back and look, because I've been doing like this one, and then when we get to a place where we've actually brought in a fair amount of the expenses, wages. I mean, the revenues obviously are usually ahead of everything. Then when we know what the programs are gonna actually make, that's I'll do the time for you to look at everything. Right now, we don't really have anything going on.
Are you, it bumped up a little bit right now, are you still short Jazz position, so is your salary?
Yeah, so we're.
So it's a little inflated, I assume.
Yep, because we're not paying him. Mhm. Public input?
Well,
David. Public input. Okay,
business, all business.
new business, so we did do, there was a DCR training for lake management. That happened last month. They're going to do a second session. So if you're interested, I can send you the link. I think, Peter, you were interested last time. So that will be on April 23rd at 2 p.m. Yeah, the folks from DCR were great to be able to, have a conversation with them and listen to their expertise. It was quite lovely to have that, so. And I took my National Parks and Rec Association exam. So I passed. I am a certified park and rec professional.
Congratulations.
This was the thing you were afraid to do, right?
Yes.
Job.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. A lot of anxiety. So it's one of those you have to go to a testing center, sit there for hours. It's an interesting experience for not having done that since like grad school, long time ago. Yeah. So, old business, none.
So if any, Peter, you said you were not gonna be able to go to the lake thing this time? Is that right? Wait.
23rd,
Or no, maybe that was something else.
April 23rd.
Oh, I just wrote it down again.
Okay, maybe I'm making that. Anyway, I'm gonna be out of the country, so if anybody else wants to go, somebody else can go without,
Okay.
meeting the president.
I attended last time too, so that's, yeah.
Yeah.
This,
Otherwise,
So DCR, they have some folks that focus on lake management and just helping organizations be able to come up with a plan and just sort of think about the things that need to be able to happen and potentially, you know, what those items may cost. So we had a first session, it was meant for, you know, Clean Lakes staff. Staff committee. So this, it's the same thing. There's just, we didn't get through everything that they wanted to accomplish in that first meeting, so they want to set up a second. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
That, so our Tim completed his 4 years, it's hard to believe. On the Massachusetts Recreation and Park Association Executive Board. He's given a beautiful plaque. Thank you for his service. It's a lot, it is a lot of work, so I give him big credit for that.
Motion?
Make a motion to end the Parks and Rec Mission meeting on Tuesday, April 8th, 2025.
second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.